Hey there, and welcome everyone to Ask Daniel number 51. Super excited having you here. We have, I believe it is 4 or 5 emails to go over. One question from Instagram as well, and maybe a comment that I thought would be really helpful. Actually, before we jump in and start answering some questions here, some big announcements. I'm extremely happy to share with you that the app I've been started working on 3 years ago, is finally on both the App Store, for iOS, for Apple, as well as Google Play. Hope it's super clear to everyone that everything on this channel is aimed at helping you sleeping amazingly well without, needing a sleep coach or spending $1, free information, of course. But for anyone that needs a little more support, a more curated path, etc., go to the App Store. Check out Bedtime with a Y, BEDTYME. I'm coaching there. I think the curriculum is really nice. I think it's I'm super proud of this product. Happy it's out. And another exciting thing is that as of today, our self-coaching program is up as well on the sleepcoachschool.com, and that's for if you like to learn by using a video, part of a community, etc. Check that out. Okay, very cool. So welcome, and as always, nothing here is medical advice, just general thoughts and comments that I hope will help anyone that is tuning in. So with that said, I'm super happy to be able to share something very encouraging with you. And this is, I have to turn the sharing screen on here. Share screen, here it is. Add a Chrome tab, boom, that's the one. So this is from Pexi, who, for those of you who don't know Pexi, somebody who's contributed a whole bunch to this channel and came across Pexi maybe a year ago or more than that, but he had 13 years of insomnia, decided one night, this is it, I'm just gonna spend less time in bed and then just kind of leave the whole thing alone. Been sleeping much better since then. So this is something he just wanted to share, something encouraging. So let's read this email from Pexi that came in a few days ago. I want to share some insight that maybe you'd like to share with your viewers. Absolutely. I noticed how much my life has changed, and the sign of full recovery, most worthy of sharing, is the fact that I now have the luxury of going to sleep whenever I'm ready. This does not, some flying in there. This doesn't seem all that profound, and it falls into many categories of insight you've shared. But when people are stuck in the problem, the urgency to sleep is always gnawing away at them. It feels like you're always in a hurry and scrambling to do something in constant panic. It starts from the moment you're out of bed, gets worse the later into the night as one is awake. Before, I felt I had to hit the mark by a certain time, so to speak. Now I sleep completely on my own terms. Feels like the power is back in my control. I actually love hanging out at night again. I kick back, scroll through YouTube, or I'll have a nice long shower, do some detailed skincare, spritz on a fragrance from my Atelier cologne collection, and sit in the open air on my balcony, basking in comfort. I don't feel like each second is ticking away like a countdown to my doom. My nights are now a time of leisure because I have the freedom to sleep whenever I'm good and ready. What really struck me with this is this sentence here. I don't feel like each second is a countdown to my doom. I think this one really struck home with me. I think so many people resonate with this, like just kind of like, okay, getting closer to bedtime, each is like the countdown, and then when you go to bed, another countdown starts, so I think I just want to share this, some encouraging words from somebody who's had a lot of trouble sleeping and now is completely past it. And I think the key to me here is that, if you're new to the channel, if you are, you still kind of are not understanding why you have trouble sleeping, if everything is a mystery to you, then you're not ready yet to go to that place where Pexi is at. But so for you, I would just say the key is education. You'll understand what it's all about. But once you understand, like, okay, this is why I've had trouble sleeping. The problem has been that I've focused so much on sleep. I've tried to solve this problem. The problem solving is the problem. Then go to that place. Go to the place where Pexi's at and just enjoy, break all the rules that you may need in the beginning and just enjoy that time before you go to bed. Don't make it a kind of this countdown timer. So yeah, I just want to share this really, really nice email from Pexi. Thank you, Pexi. And with that said, let's move on to this email that came in a few days ago from Anne. It's titled Irregular Sleep-Wake Rhythm Disorder. And the question from Anne is there any way to overcome this? I've suffered with this for years and had no idea I had it. I've gone to countless sleep and natural remedies to get help, and no one ever said that I have this until recently. I've had sleep studies in labs and then countless sleep diaries, and the MDs just look at it and don't believe me or say they can't help me, and I have to go to someone that can help. The one MD in my area that does treat people for this, I've gone to her twice before I even knew about ISWRD, and she never mentioned it. She had all of my sleep diaries and knew my sleep pattern. She just did CBT and that didn't work, and she finally gave up. I don't have problems other people with this sort of have, like dementia, brain injuries, etc. Would have, and this has been very draining over the years and little to no sleep every day. So firstly, I want to say, Anne, thanks for staying in touch, and thanks for sharing this important question. So here are my thoughts on this. Irregular sleep-wake rhythm disorder is something that if you think of like a newborn child, a 2-week-old child, there's no pattern. That child just sleeps for an hour, maybe, then is awake for 30 minutes, then sleeps 2 hours, then is awake for 2 hours. Like there's really, like the brain is just not mature enough to have any type of pattern. No matter how much sleep training you do, light entrainment, you cannot get a 2-week-old child to have any sleep pattern because their brain just isn't mature enough. And I think it's the same thing on the other end of this. Imagine somebody who has had this like extensive brain injury, the entire brain is just completely dysfunctional, or somebody that has like severe, like late stage Alzheimer's disease. The brain is just like the brain of a 2-week-old. It just cannot produce any type of like coherent wake sleep pattern. So where I'm getting towards is that, in my understanding of this, is that if you are intellectually intact, if you can write an email, if you can talk to somebody, if your brain works, then you don't have this condition. That is my understanding. And I think if I look back in my emails, and I know that Annie had also asked about short sleep syndrome. I think if I'm correct, that was another thing you thought that that was the reason you had trouble sleeping a couple of weeks ago, and you were going to do kind of light entrainment, etc. So my thinking here is that, when people do CBT, that can mean a lot of things. Some have training in kind of like a specific CBT program, and when things fall outside of that, they may not know exactly what to do. Some people are like myself, completely obsessed with insomnia, and we never give up. I don't think there's any mystery, in my opinion. I know I haven't met you, Anne, and I've only read a few emails, but I don't think there's any mystery. I think that when it comes to insomnia, struggling to fall asleep, just like irregular pattern, it's, in my opinion, it is always driven by not understanding what's going on, trying to find the solution. The more you look for, the more time you spend on trying to figure out what's going on, why is this happening, could it be this, could it be that, then the more attention you're feeding the insomnia, and the more trouble sleep you're having, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, something that's very common in insomnia is that you think that your problems sleeping are very unique and strange and unusual and bizarre, and you look for reasons that are similarly kind of like exotic and unusual, which really takes you down this rabbit hole of looking for exotic things. But when you're open to exploring the possibility that, guess what, maybe the trouble sleeping I had is very similar actually to this other person, then you may get to a point where you see like, what, I think if I did the same thing that's working for so many others, education, understanding, then you are in a much better position to really get to a place where you start sleeping much, much better. And then, by the way, I want to, tough question, really tough question for a lot of people that have struggled for years is this one. Is there any reason that you are attached to your insomnia? Is there any reason you're attached to insomnia? That may sound shocking when I say that, but there are actually reasons. Some people actually deep down inside may not actually want to get past it because of things like, it keeps you preoccupied. This is problem you can work on, like it gives you kind of a weirdly sense of purpose. It can be something that gets you attention and empathy from other people. It can make you feel special. You can have had it for such a long that it's kind of a part of your identity. You feel like you're giving up and part of your identity not to have it. So those are some tough questions, but I think for somebody that struggled for years, there's some questions you have to ask yourself. If the answer is like, no, absolutely, there's absolutely nothing. I don't hold on to my insomnia at all. That's great. That's fantastic. You're ready to sleep well. If you find that, yes, there is kind of this recess in my brain, there's somehow a resistance. There's part of me that actually wants to hold on to this. That's also good, because then you can work on that. That can be the explanation for why you haven't gotten to a place where you sleep really well. So, Anne, I want to say thank you so much for sharing this question, and please stay in touch. Let us know if there are any other questions that you would like to post here. And thanks for the live comment there, Jamie Robot. All right, cool. And actually, I don't want to do this. I want to make sure I don't forget this. This is Alex, who has asked questions before, sent me a question via Instagram, and I haven't yet found out a way to share this with you, like on the screen. So I'm just going to read a question from Alex here. I have one question, which I find quite important. I noticed that after a consistent routine, even if I go to bed very late, or simply a few hours later than my time to go to bed, I still wake up more or less around my wake up time. And after just a few hours of sleep, I noticed that sleep could be quite good quality, but it's short. Is this just that I program myself to wake up at this time no matter what? Thank you. Short answer is yes. that's short answer is yes. Nothing strange, unusual about that. You often notice, I want to say particularly when it comes to parents who have kids that have like trouble sleeping, younger kids, and I say that in clinic, like, hey, put them to bed a little later, and you'll see that they get better quality sleep. They may sleep a little longer, etc. But then they go like, well, we've done that. Like, even if we put them to bed late, they still get up the same time every morning, and then I just say, you know what? Nothing strange. Usually, it just takes a little time. We can often train ourselves to wake up at the same time every morning. If we typically have to be at work we have to get up for work at 7. We often wake up like 6:30, 6:45. Our bodies are just used to that. It takes a while for that to change. Or in your case, Alex, you may not want that to change. That's probably fine. So nothing strange about that. And the fact that even if you sleep less, you still feel pretty refreshed. Nothing strange about that either. We have kind of like a buffer. So I want to say sounds nothing unusual. And you're right. That can be kind of a circadian habit for sure. So stay in touch, Alex. Hope that helped. And we will now turn to this email from Wayne that came in a few days ago. Let me share it with you. And Wayne, the title of his email was Psychophysiological Insomnia 4 years. Let's read it. Hi, Daniel. I seem to have this type of insomnia and have proven it through instances where I would, for example, be reading my daughter a book at bedtime and have trouble staying awake. There have been many instances like this. However, when I try sleep in my bed, it just doesn't happen. I've observed the differences, and it seems to be my mind blocking sleep, but in a rather odd way. As soon as I hit the pillow, I just can't get my imagination to flow. It's like I have a mental inhibitor that is preventing this process as it leads me to falling asleep. I've tried meditation, cutting off all stimulus, but none of this helps, as it always comes back to this problem. I can almost feel it in action when in bed, like a muscle in tension in my forehead. And when I focus on relaxing, I can almost fall asleep before my mind realizes, oh, he's letting go. Can't have that. Then I'm jolted out of it and back to trying again. It is very strange, as I can rest in bed an entire night without a single thought passing over my mind, like I'm in a mental limbo. get up in the morning feeling like a train smash. You know, if of any therapy that can help me get thoughts flowing again and relieve myself of this anxiety of not being able to fall asleep, any thoughts you have on this, greatly appreciated. Wayne, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for this question, very important one. I think a lot of people will recognize themselves here, which is a important point, important teaching point. But before I go there, I just want to say, for those of you who wonder, okay, what's this thing called psychophysiological insomnia? What's that about? Well, really, you know, when I say psychophysiological insomnia, that just means what we talk, you know, insomnia, when somebody has insomnia. But you know, I feel like these descriptions, like psychophysiological insomnia and paradoxical insomnia, they can be helpful sometimes, but there's nothing like they all just describe what is insomnia. Like in this one, psychophysiological insomnia, we have baked into that some of the reason why you have trouble sleeping. So psychophysiological insomnia basically describes somebody who has an episode of stress, something that triggered initial sleeplessness, and when that stressor has gone away, you still have insomnia. So that's kind of like where it comes from, psychophysiological insomnia. But anyway, what you describe here is kind of pretty much like one of the most common kind of what people describe as a bizarre phenomenon. When you easily fall asleep, your eyelids are heavy before you go to bed, but when you go to bed, you can't sleep. And in your case, you describe it as like, my imagination cannot flow. I have this mental inhibitor. I think, you know, this may sound like too simplistic to you when you hear me say this, but I really think this is a classic case of both conditioned response and also the act of, like, you know, trying to sleep versus not trying to sleep. So let's talk about this for a second. I like to, you know, I often bring up that person we all know who sleeps like really, really well, you know, just fall asleep as soon as they hit the pillow, etc. And imagine asking that person, like, what do you do to sleep so well? And the response you get is like, I don't know, I don't do anything in particular. And that is so true. Sleep is a passive process. It you know, when we have trouble sleeping, it becomes a little bit of a delicate process too. A lot of things can disrupt it. Meaning, you know, don't misunderstand me here. I don't mean a lot of different things, but anything that puts your kind of emotional state into higher gear can disrupt that process of sleep. And so when there's nothing disrupting it, when you're not trying at all to sleep, when you're not wanting to sleep, when you're not pursuing sleep, when you're not thinking about sleep, when you want to stay awake, sleep comes easy. When you're reading your daughter that book, sleep comes easy because you actually want to stay awake. But as soon as you go to bed, you want to sleep. And you've had trouble sleeping, so you're kind of thinking about it. You're wondering, will I sleep? What's going to happen next? Even if those thoughts are not, you know, clearly there. It's not like you identify them. They are somewhere in the subconscious. You are thinking about sleep at some level, and then sleep just doesn't happen. And by the way, when we think about it, that's again like a very rational thing for the body to do. Meaning, if there's any, like, imagine we were living as hunter-gatherers, like outside in the wild, right? If there's any little reason that you might be under threat, it makes perfect sense for your body to keep you awake. It's kind of the same thing here. Although here the threat is a perceived one, your body's kind of like looking at the lack of sleep as a potential threat, and then it just keeps you awake because it's kind of threat monitoring there, you know? So what should one do? I understand the question here, like, I can't get my imagination to flow. What can I do to just start my imagination to flow so I can think of pleasant things and kind of just drift off? Completely get that. But I think what should one do in your case, Wayne? I think goes back to really same thing as for everyone. Like, just recognizing that what you're describing is a very common variety of this, like, I fall asleep easily when I don't want to sleep, you know, before bed, and then I can't fall asleep when I go to bed. Very common. Recognizing that it is very common is a classic insomnia symptom, and then starting to just educate oneself on insomnia, like browsing this channel, like, getting to a point where you fully understand it. That in itself is huge, because that leads you to this place where you're like, okay, I understand it. Nothing strange here. And then you go to bed and you're like, oh, it seems like I won't sleep, but that's okay. That's not, I'm not going to fight that. If I don't fall asleep, that's okay. And then guess what? You'll fall asleep much easier when you understand it. That's a big one. And the other one is like, the act of trying to sleep is a surefire way not to sleep. So I think for anyone out there, before you go to bed, and even when you're in bed, try to do something you enjoy when you are not sleeping. You read to your child, have a book yourself, one that you enjoy, one that you look forward to, one that you can't let go, like one of those really good books. Enjoy that. And we start like enjoying that, then I think your imagination will go into the kind of the book, and you feel more relaxed, and you stop thinking about sleep, and soon enough you'll be sleeping. So I think, is there any therapy or technique? This is it. Like what I talk about here all the time, which is, in the past I used to say like, this is CBTI. It's now I feel like it's maybe CBTI 2.0, kind of my version of CBTI, but basically CBTI I think is really, really good. So yeah, and Wayne, please let me know if this didn't make sense, if you have any follow-up questions, and do let us know how things go moving forward. Zoltan is on. Zoltan is here. Cool, Zoltan. So nice having you with us. And Zoltan's asking here, I used to go to bed around 11 p.m. and I used to wake up around 7, but now I always wake up at 5:30 or 6. So what's going on? Well, I think there could be many reasons for that. I don't know where you live, but where I live, it's summertime. It gets lighter outside earlier, and I think a lot of us kind of like wake up a little bit easier, a little bit earlier in the morning. That could be that one. There could be something on your mind. It could be for a variety of reasons. But again, I think the most important thing is that if you end up waking up earlier, but you feel rested and you feel okay during the day, then if you don't look at it as a problem, then it isn't. And then the more you have an acceptance approach, the more you think like, okay, this is happening now, but I'm not gonna research it or try to change it or do anything about it. The more relaxed you feel, and the better you do. And if there was some kind of like hyper arousal or something causing you to wake up very early, then when you have that acceptance approach, it will subside, and you'll sleep longer again. Yeah. And by the way, I have your other question coming up here, Zoltan, about your friend there. Cool. Oh, here it is. Look at that timing. That's amazing. Am I still sharing my screen? No, I'm not. Let me share the screen here. So this came in from Zoltan. I think it was actually 6 days ago. Hello, Daniel. I'm just wondering what I should do if I have a recent falling out with my friends. It's bothering me to a point where I'm not feeling well. I feel hot and I can't sleep. I'm not trying to force sleep, but I'm wondering what you advise if someone is experiencing this while trying to get some sleep. Here's my thinking. First thought is, if you had a falling out with a friend or so, then it's completely normal to have insomnia. That's the first one. And Zoltan says, I forgot to share here. I can show you. Zoltan says, I feel rested. I exercise every morning too. That's perfect. Perfect. So just kind of take advantage of waking up early and do that exercise and enjoy it, and good things will come your way. All right. So yes, here's the thing. Like if you had a falling out with a friend, then it's completely normal to have some insomnia there. It's completely normal. And again, if you think of it as normal, you'll start sleeping better soon again. Now, I wanted to take advantage of this question and to kind of try, use the model, which I believe is really good. And I use it too little because it's quicker to just kind of answer questions, directly answer questions. But for anyone out there that, maybe you have some anxiety or you have some other kind of mental wellness things you want to work on, check out my playlist called The Model. I think super helpful. It explains how your mind works and how you can use this model to do better. So using this one, if something has happened, let's say you had a falling out with a friend, that's what we call a circumstance. That's something undeniable, something that happened, no question, that did happen, right? But circumstances are neutral. It's not, it doesn't need to make you feel this way or that way, or go produce this result or that result, but by in and of itself. Circumstances, like, you know, how they affect you depends on how you think about them. All right. So if you have a falling out with a friend and you think, oh my gosh, this friend is a terrible friend, or like he doesn't like me, that makes you feel what? Probably angry. And what does that make you do? It makes you maybe not talk to your friend, and the result becomes you're disconnected, and then that reinforces your thought that this is, you know, this friend doesn't like me or something like that. But imagine the same thing happened. You have the same circumstance. You have a falling out with your friend. You think, you know what? I think my friend, there's a reason for this. My friend was in a bad spot, and I have empathy with him. Let's say something like that. Then you feel, you know, empathy towards them. You feel kind of a warmth towards them, even though this happened. And that takes you action, like maybe giving them space, but then reaching out. Result becomes, you know, you're soon reconnected again, and then your thought really becomes, yeah, it was just a temporary thing. So, you know, using this model, you can see how thought work, like working on how you think about something really changes your results. So I just want to take advantage of, like, show you how this model works, and anyone out there, again, check out the playlist model, the playlist called The Model that I have here in the description, and I think you'll learn a lot from that. Let's see here, where are we with Luke? Okay, cool. So this is probably going to be, where are we in time? 26 minutes. I think we have probably have time for another comment too to go over that. But let's start with this these questions from Luke. So a little bit of background here. Luke, I think was doing like a separate, like a CBTI program. Started following my channel, was doing a lot better, but was thinking that he needed like this sleep detox, basically like take some time and just not read about sleep, not watch videos, just like leave the world of sleep for a while, which can be a really good idea when you've gotten to a point where you're like, again, you understand sleep, you're doing better, and you realize that I don't have that much more to learn from this channel or from Martin Reed's channel or from any, I don't have that much more to learn, and I'm doing better. A really good idea could be do the sleep detox, like leave the sleeper for a while. And that could really help you, because again, the more attention sleep gets, the less you typically sleep. So that was Luke's idea, and he's about to embark on the sleep detox, but has some questions before. Let's get to them. Let's see if I'm sharing my screen here. No, I'm not. Let me share it with you here. So Luke said the following. Hey, Daniel, before I tune out completely, is it okay sometimes to do stimulus control in bed, or do it outside of bed, just depending on what I feel like at the time? Like, it doesn't have to always be one or the other, as long as I'm comfortable and happy. Quick answer to that one. Yes. I don't have too much to that. That's absolutely true. What you want to avoid is always being in bed frustrated. But if you're in bed and you do something that you enjoy, or you're in the couch somewhere and you do something that you enjoy, then both of those are totally fine. Absolutely. Okay. I have one more that's really boggling my mind regarding the whole thing. Expectation. The goal is to be happy and not concerned about sleep. I used to be like that completely. Typically took an hour to 1.5 hours to sleep, and I love to think at night. Now I sometimes fall asleep in 10 to 15 minutes, but I'm much more concerned and get even more stressed around the 1 hour mark. You mentioned recently how sometimes someone who pre-insomnia used to think they were a bad sleeper, and that can completely change. Now I'm just so confused on how I should feel about it all. I used to want that again, but now there's this new way of sleeping and feeling sleepy, but I'm way more on edge. I just feel like CBT has gotten me a bit twisted on what I should even want. I get it. You know, I think that the confusing thing here is that Luke used to take like 1.5 hours to fall asleep, but that didn't consider a problem. And now often with CBTI, we have kind of like goals, like it should take you this much time to fall asleep, or you should do this if you don't, blah, 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 which can get you confused, like, etc. And so, the first thing that comes to mind here is the aspect of time. I think Coach Michael said this really nice thing the other time we were live together. He said, like, imagine eating an ice cream cone and somebody says, okay, you got to eat this in 30 minutes. Just there and then, something that's very enjoyable becomes unenjoyable because there's this sense of pressure. You have to do it within a certain amount of time. So the first thing I'm thinking of when I read this is that, like, if you let go of time, I think you'll really benefit from that. Meaning, you said at the 1 hour mark, that indicates to me that you may be actually keeping track of time. I think it's much better to not keep track of time. If that comes easy to you, perfect. If it's not easy to you, that I think it does make sense to make it an effort. You know, just like, let's say after whatever time, after 10 p.m., I'm really not going to know the time. You know, I don't want to know the time, and maybe have an alarm set for the morning, but then not knowing how long you've been awake, I think that can really help you get away from this thinking. And then the other one here is, you know, CBT has gotten a bit twisted what I even want. I think, you know, I think you just want to enjoy sleeping and enjoy life. So if it takes you an hour or an hour and a half to fall asleep, and you enjoy that time by thinking or reading or listening to podcasts or whatever it is, that's perfect, you know? So I think that, you know, don't feel pressured to fall asleep within a certain amount of time just because in some CBTI course, they may have said that was, you know, preferable. Not at all, you know, not at all. So, you know, I think that was really the main kind of points there, Luke. And I hope you're ready to do your sleep detox that you wanted to do. If not, just like hit us up with some more questions. And we'll see. Zoltan is here, has a live question again, and he's asking, what's your favorite food? I definitely want to say that is this tofu curry that my wife makes. I add some peanuts and some mango chutney, and it is really, really good. It's really good. Okay, so with that said, let's take some time here, and then I think we can end this with a really nice note here then. And actually, we might have time for something more too. But anyway, let's read this comment from Animated Art. Came in 11 hours ago. And this is a comment, as you can see. Oh, as you can, no, I have not shared that screen with you. What am I doing? First of all, I have to hide this one. And I want to share this other screen with you, which is a Chrome tab, but it's this one. Okay, here we go. So this is a comment again from Animated Art. Hi, Daniel. I just wanted you to know that I'm doing so much better lately. I did a sleep detox without knowing what it is. Great video as always. My sleep is consistently improving with a few setbacks here and there, but I never sleep less than 3.5 hours anymore. And even on that amount, I still feel fine. When I wake up at night and feel wide awake, it still happens sometimes. I'm now able to see it as an opportunity and not as a punishment. I can get up and watch another Netflix episode. Lucky me. Usually I can't even watch the entire thing because my eyes start shutting themselves. Thus, I get back to bed in no time. I've been using my Apple Watch to track my sleep, which calmed my anxiety since I realized that I slept more than I thought. By the way, I stopped taking my anxiety pills about 2 weeks ago without any trouble. That's amazing. I have been really flexible with my bedtime and only kept my latest wake-up time 100% consistent. I think that all in all, what really worked for me was stimulus control, which means basically leaving the bed when you're frustrated in bed. Even though I know I was the one doing the work, I would never have attempted it so soon. Thus, I can't thank you enough for your help anytime. Keep it up. You really made a difference. Super, super happy to hear this. And thanks so much for sharing this. And that's what, Animated Art says here in the end, that he did find a lot of comfort in the comment section here and now wants to share that. So I want to thank you, Animated Art, for staying in touch, sharing this. And two things I want to highlight here is the one where, like, I'm now able to see this as an opportunity, not as a punishment. You know, if you can do that, the time when you go to bed and you're awake for quite a long time, or you wake up and you're awake for a while, if you can turn that lemon into lemonade, do something you enjoy, not be afraid of doing something you enjoy in that time, you will really do well, just like Animated Art. And the other one is this interesting one, which I think I still think that for 92.8% of everyone that has trouble sleeping, using a tracker is not a good idea, but there are times where it can be helpful, and that is when you think that you sleep almost nothing, you think you sleep very, very little, and getting some type of indication that you sleep more than you think could help you feel kind of relieved. That's the one time where it can be actually helpful using a tracker. Generally, the instinct when you have trouble sleeping is I'll get control of this problem. I need to track it. If that's your emotion, feeling, thinking, don't do it. You got to go in the other directions. When you lose track of sleep, that's when you sleep better. But there's this exception, which I think is really important to point out. So let's see. With that said, yeah, I think, yep, Zoltan says good night. I want to say good night to you, Zoltan. I want to thank everyone for sending questions. If you have a question, then please send an email, questions@thesleepcoachschool.com, and hope to have you back here real soon. Until then, take it easy.